I, 24F, met my husband, 36M, Jake, fake name, about 4 years ago on Tinder. Jake comes from a different country to where I am from, but he was my type, and when we started talking I was blown away by how charming and sweet he was. This version of Jake never went away. He has always been this amazingly charming and sweet person. He's the type of person that when you've finished having a conversation with him you feel better about yourself. Just to give you some context. He and I fell in love quickly and got married fast also. He was very eager to start a family as it gave his citizenship in my country more legitimacy. By our second anniversary, we were married and I was pregnant with our son. Jake still works in his home country, and so every few months he flies back and stays there with his mother, or so I thought, completes the work required and then flies back. The rest of the work he can do at home. The last few years with Jake have genuinely been the most amazing years of my life, and this is why the last week feels like such a fever dream. This is hard to explain, but a person on Facebook messaged me last Tuesday claiming that Jake had been cheating on me and that they had proof. I genuinely didn't believe this person and at first just ignored them, but then curiosity got the better of me and I messaged back and asked what proof they had. They proceeded to send me a large collection of photos of Jake with another woman and 2 boys. I know these photos were relatively recent, as he dyed his hair blonde for the Barbie movie, at my request, and has kept it like that ever since. The person told me that the woman in the photo was his wife and the 2 boys were his sons. I obviously didn't want to believe it. I tried to find ways it was fake. Photoshop, AI, whatever, I don't even know. I think the person blocked me after that, as their account just comes up as Facebook user now when I look at the chats. When I had got home I confronted Jake and he started crying and confessed that everything was true and that he had a wife and 2 sons, who looked to be about 13 and 9, but I could be wrong, that's just my best guess, in his home country, that he was still married to the woman. I asked him how he could do this to me. How could he have lied to me for so long? I told him I was going to expose him to the other wife and he said not to bother because she already knows and supports him. I left and have been staying with my mother ever since. This has been the hardest week of my life and some days I genuinely haven't wanted to get out of bed. Jake has been texting me saying that he will break things off with the other wife completely if that's what I wanted, and he texted me saying he thought I wouldn't mind, which genuinely made me sob into my pillow. I have never felt so low. Part of me, stupidly I know, wants to take him back. The years I had with him were the best I have ever had, but this betrayal is just... I don't even know how to explain the hurt I feel. Comments. Boopaloops. He chose you because you were young and naive. He was charming and sweet because he was conning you. He had a plan the whole time. His wife is supporting him because he is bringing her and the kids over once he establishes residency. Edit. This is debatable, as some commenters have pointed out, but either way, operating strictly off of what has been presented here, if he has actually told his wife and that was her actual response, that is likely to be the agreement that was forged, whether or not he actually honors it. He is a user and is still using you now because he believes he has control over you. Do not go back to this person. What you knew is not reality and he is counting on the illusion he created to be powerful enough for you to stay. You know what you need to do. You're understandably in shock, but please get your family and friends involved to support you. You did nothing wrong. Please consult a lawyer ASAP to see what your options are because, like others have said, fraud has been committed. Lallybrock, if you want to get really mean, contact immigration and tell them your husband has a second family and see what happens to his green card. LGDNCR, I don't even think this is mean. It's just fair. He shouldn't get citizenship through a fraudulent marriage. Sufficient dinner 27, op, you are what is called a putative spouse, one who unknowingly married someone who was already married. Your marriage is invalid and a court could free you of Jake and put an end to his dreams of residency. Do it. Nanio forget about the cheating. If this is true, you've been used to commit fraud. You should be getting an attorney and reporting him ASAP. He committed fraud to get a visa, and his wife back home is his partner on crime. +_data_1099, 100%, and as soon as he has his papers he will leave her and move his family over. That's the reason first wife is okay. Update. Hi guys, first and foremost, I would like to thank you all for all the advice and support everyone has given me since I posted my original post 4 days ago. It's been over a week since I left to go stay at my mother, and this time away from Jake has been so good for and allowed me to see what was really important to me. Since I originally posted, Jake and I have been talking and he let me know that he has broken things off with his other wife. Apparently it wasn't even a legal marriage thing. He explained to me that when he was a child his parents and his wife's parents arranged for them to be married. This happened when he was 7 years old BTW. But it wasn't a legal wedding, just like a ceremonial thing that links his family with hers. He said that he never actually loved her, but was required to marry her or his father had to pay so much to his wife's family as like punishment, I guess. I felt really bad for him. I could tell he didn't want to be with her at all, and was only doing it so his family were okay. The relationship isn't real on either side, which is what he was trying to tell me when he said his wife supports him. They're only married because they're required to be. I'm so relieved now. He's explained everything to me. He told me he won't be contacting her again, but because of this we will have to send a small amount of money to the wife's family for the foreseeable future, which of course is not ideal. But it is better than the alternative of him going over to be with her every few months. I wish he just told me the truth from the start. But, don't worry, I've signed us up for couples therapy. I know this is likely not the results you guys expected or wanted, so many of you were so bloodthirsty for him without even understanding what he was going through. The thing that kind of concerns me now is what the relationship will be like between my son and his other half siblings. I think I would like to foster a relationship between them if I can. I'm just glad to be back with Jake. I love him so much. Comments. Commenter, I find this pretty unbelievable. Have you talked with his wife to confirm any of this? Oop, not per se, but I can tell usually when he's lying and he wasn't this time. Commenter, except for the whole double life thing, right? Apart from that you read him like a book. Commenter, info, will you be paying into this money that is ostensibly going to the other wife's family? Or will he be paying it solely from his income? Oop, I don't have an income ATM, so it can't come from me. Commenter, not a real marriage, yet they're half siblings? Oop, he had them before he even knew me. Commenter, yeah, you would have also been 10-11 when the oldest was born. Does that not shout red flag to you? Oop, what has that got to do with anything? He wasn't dating me then? Funny Goose 5616, love how she glossed over that his wife knew all along. Of course she knew, she's in on the plan. As soon as he can afford it, wife and kids will be on the next plane over, and Op will be out on her naive butt. CBM 984, I'm so relieved that he's been lying to you the whole time, came up with an explanation that paints him as a victim, doesn't let his real wife weigh in, and is more than happy to abandon his 2 kids? WTF? _fancy_me, TBH. I know in a lot of places women are just expected to marry and have kids. And they don't have the rights or option to start a life on their own. So in that situation I can understand a lot of women just want to live in peace and quiet with their kids and consider themselves fortunate if there is no abuse and they are financially provided for. It's grim but probably rings true for a lot of women all over the world. So I can imagine that she probably did know he'd found a different foreign woman to shack up with and was just happy to have the freedom. Or perhaps was hoping he'd financially be able to make a better life for them if he was living/working there. Or as you said, was hoping this would open the door for her and her kids to immigrate themselves. I can fully believe that if your marriage is all about duty, you may not necessarily care to have your husband around or if he's fucking someone else. But he deceived Oop from day one. And he's deceiving her still. And now he's just casually agreed to abandon all his responsibilities, including his children. I hope for his first wife his financial contribution is enough to support her and her kids and that he never goes crawling back. Because she may not have the freedom to say no if he does. And may not have any options to provide for herself and her kids. There are sadly still plenty of countries where a woman's well-being is entirely dependent on her husband or her family. It's funny how Oop has been convinced her husband had no choice and is just a victim of the situation. When she was put into a situation she didn't consent to, due to him, and his, previous/ex? Wife in truth may very well not have had any options and may still remain without any, partially thanks to him, partially potentially due to culture or legislation. So in this situation it was actually him who was the only one who actively had choices presented to him and chose to take the freedom/options away from the women in his life. Now on to the next story. Story 2. Golden child sister promised to let me have my special wedding year, then blindsided me by deciding to get engaged to her boyfriend of 6 months and married a month after my wedding. I, 24F, am planning my wedding to my partner of almost 6 years. We got engaged at the end of November 2023 and we set our wedding date for September 2024. Before we get into the current situation I want to provide a little context. When we were growing up it was always abundantly clear that my sister, 20F, was the family favorite. She was always given special privileges and talked more highly of than me. For this reason, we didn't get along during our childhood and most of our teenage years. After attending therapy as an adult, I came to understand that I couldn't hold my parents' treatment towards her against her because she was a child and the only people to blame are my parents. After working through that, her and I became really close. For the past few years we have been inseparable. She's my best friend and I am hers. I asked her to be my Mo and she was so excited. She started dating her current BF, 21M, in late October of 2023. Of course, he just so happens to be everything my family has ever dreamed of in a son-in-law. The exact opposite of my partner. The past 6 months they have been together. My sister's partner is all my family talks about, even at my bridal appointments. Right after my engagement my sister said that when she found out about my upcoming engagement she made it clear to her BF that this year was about me, so she didn't want him to bring up anything marriage related until after my wedding. She said she wanted this to be my year. I've dreamed of this wedding my entire life and maybe it's selfish to say but I just wanted this one thing to actually be about me. This leads us to the current situation. Last night my sister, 20F, and her boyfriend of 6 months, 21M, FaceTimed me together and told me that they decided to get married. They said that he would go to ask my parents either today or tomorrow for permission and then he would immediately go buy a ring. They then said that they want me to help plan the official proposal which will happen in 2 to 3 weeks with the wedding set for November 2024. I told them that I needed time to process and I ended the FaceTime. An hour later, My sister called me to talk about it and I was sobbing. I explained to her how badly it hurt me that she of all people would do this after she promised that she would let this be my year. I explained to her that I want to be happy for her, but I am grieving the loss of my special day because the second our family hears about their engagement it will be as if I and my wedding doesn't exist. She cried while I explained myself and then said, "Don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it. I have to go." And hung up the phone. I haven't heard from her since. Right now I feel like I have lost my wedding and my best friend. I am the villain in her story for ruining her moment, and she is the villain in my story for taking this milestone from me even after she promised she wouldn't. Where do we go from here? Ada for not just being happy for her? Comments. Fafo13, NTA. But I would definitely take a step back from your entire family. Your sister wants to be the main character and it seems like she's jealous because you were getting all the attention. Disastrous STHE, this. Deep down, she's not really your best friend. Plan your wedding and have a fabulous time with people who actually want to celebrate you and don't want to secretly compete with you. Latencer22, I'd be really interested to find out why the sudden change from "we will not talk about marriage until after Op's wedding" to "we are getting engaged now, 6 months into dating, at 20 years old, happened. My bet would be pregnancy personally. Normal reward 7257. Yup, I bet the sister is pregnant. Otherwise _degree_729, NTA. She did it on purpose. She got engaged 6 months into the relationship. Now you have to plan her official proposal. After that they will ask you to plan other events for her wedding. They not even officially engaged and already have a wedding date coincidentally 1 month after yours. If they look for venues they are going to find one available for a month prior to your wedding. Your sister gives the vibe of an immature child that needs to get something first at all costs and that of a high school bully that says something then does something else entirely. Asparagus overall 8454, so they're getting engaged and married within a year? And they've only been together a year. Yeah, that's gonna turn out well. That being said, I'd be upset as well. Your sister sounds like a jerk. I'd tell them to go kick rocks. 1tone_4608 op. They met 6 months ago and they are planning to get married in the month of their 1-year dating anniversary. I have not figured out why things are moving so fast, but I hope to get some answers on that soon. Alonthi Watchtower, could sis have a bun in the oven? 1tone_4608 op. She hasn't mentioned pregnancy to me at all. However, if she is pregnant I really wish she would have come to me and explained the rushed engagement and wedding under that context. As it stands, I'm really upset with the way she chose to go about this. Alonthi Watchtower, I would hope she could better explain it. I was hoping it wasn't jealousy on her part and would explain the quick engagement. Maybe a break from your family would be helpful. Or just low contact. Update, thank you all for the advice in the comments of my original post. I'm sorry for taking so long to post an update for you. BTW, the sister is not pregnant. I spoke with my sister on Tuesday of this past week and it was not a very positive conversation. I was still extremely hurt and she was angry with me for ruining her excitement. I ended that conversation by telling her that at the end of the day, she would have to make her choice on whether they would go through with this engagement and wedding or wait until after my wedding based on what felt most right to her. She left me on read and I didn't reach back out because I felt like the ball was in her court. Last night she reached out to me and apologized for hurting my feelings. She said that she doesn't want things to be bad between us over this. She then started asking me more questions about how I felt. After some more explanation I asked her if she had talked to her boyfriend about our phone call. She said that she did, and when I asked how it went she said that he told her she needed to reach out to me and try to make things right. She said it took her a while to reach out because she was still trying to process her emotions, but ultimately she knew he was right. I asked her what they decided to do and she said that after several days of talking it over they have decided to postpone the proposal until after my wedding in September. She said that their new plan is to get engaged soon after my wedding and plan their wedding for early 2025. They have not said anything to our family about the engagement and my family has been blissfully unaware of the state of my sister and I's relationship. I guess you could say that this is the best case scenario for this situation. There is still quite a bit of tension between my sister and I, but hopefully that will get better with time. Comments. Maeve Carpenter, you need to make sure she understands she can't be proposed to at your wedding. Out of ducks to give, that's exactly what I was thinking. Maeve Carpenter, I worked in weddings for a while. I'm not saying sister is going to do it, but the money spent on security to keep an eye on the two of them in particular would be worth its weight in gold for peace of mind. Certicis 101, if I were you I wouldn't trust my sister. Please be careful. Basic_professional 95, if Op goes scorch earth with her sister, then that will definitely result in her being spiteful and making the announcement before/during the wedding. So her best bet would try to keep the peace, but remain guarded. That broken trust won't be fixed easily, if at all. Purple Lightning Song, 50/50 the sister made peace to use the wedding as her proposal backdrop. Basic_professional 95, did you just keep this update short? Cause apologized for hurting your feelings is a bit of an understatement of what happened. She broke your trust. She knew this has been a problem for you for years, to the point of you needing therapy, Yet she just glossed over that in her moment of excitement? I'm glad she's trying to fix what she did, but that also requires to admit what she has done. I hope you just kept it short and she owned up to everything. Fleet_and_flotilla, your sister may not be pregnant, but I question the idea of talking proposals and marriage after 6 months. I would recommend you speak to her about the insanity of that choice, but given the situation as it is, it's probably best not to add any fuel to a still smoldering fire. 1tone_4608 op. My parents have been encouraging her to do this since they hit the 1 month in their relationship. I wholeheartedly believe that my parents are more interested in getting him into the family, he's their dream son, rather than looking out for her best interest. Because of this, a couple months ago I sat her down and had a hard conversation. She was upset with me for a couple days, but I told her that I could not live with myself if I didn't at least give her another perspective on this relationship. She lives with our parents, so she is hearing their perspective every day. I explained issues that can come up with someone that you don't fully know yet. And I told her that at the end of the day I wanted to protect her from ending up in a situation that I have been in the past. I tried to explain to her that some things you only learn about a person in time. Right now you're in the honeymoon phase of the relationship, and that's not an accurate representation of what the relationship will be. People are usually on their best behavior at the beginning, and then over time as they become more comfortable and the new starts wearing off, things can change. I finished the conversation by saying that if he really loves you and has all the best intentions with you, he will still be here a year from now. A good man will not walk away from you because you want to date for 1 year before getting engaged/married. I guess she didn't take what I said to heart and decided to take her chances.